companies do the research on finding the town administrator. Kurt, would you like to come up and address it?
I'd like to point out real quick while he's getting ready that they're going to present their information, that you've already had their proposal since June 4th. Any questions y'all want to ask and get clarified at this point, this is the best time to do it. So.
Okay. Would you like to have a question and answer, or would you like to do your spiel, or how would you like to address this?
I am flexible, however you all would like to proceed. I can tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about the company, and we can go from there if that's what
I would like to hear the presentation and then ask questions
Okay.
afterwards.
Kurt, make your presentation.
All right. It's fairly brief, but I'll proceed. My name's Kurt Hodgen. I'm with Strategic Government Resources. We are extremely happy that you all have called us in this morning to give us the opportunity to speak with you about potentially becoming your recruiting agency for your town administrator position. I have just under 33 years of experience as an assistant or town manager, city manager level of government official in Virginia primarily. Live just under 4 hours from here. I'm over in Mooresville, North Carolina now. So one of the advantages that possibly we may bring relative to others is the proximity. I can jump in the car and get here rather than having to jump on an airplane and coordinate and all that. But anyway, SGR is a national entity. We have recruiters scattered throughout the country. We have provided services in pretty much all of the contiguous states in the U.S. We're full service. We do not only recruitment, but we do leadership development, organizational development, strategic planning, and overall local government consulting. We like to think that we are one of the more forward-thinking and advanced firms out there. We have what we call 5 key steps to a successful search. The first thing is we come in and we get a comprehensive understanding of the community. If we're selected, I will come back and spend a day, 2 days, whatever it takes, to have an opportunity to sit down with each of you all and find out what you're looking for in your next town administrator, the good, the bad, the ugly of your previous or other prior managers, the personality traits and characteristics that you're looking for in the new person. One of the things that we really emphasize is fit for the community. Anybody will come here and present to you all, and they will be able to find you plenty of applicants for the position. But what we strive to do is find the applicant that will fit best here. After we familiarize ourselves with you all and your needs, we'll talk to department heads, anybody in the community that you'd like us to, and again, just learn the community a little bit, see what's here, retail, community activities, schools, etc. We get the big picture, and that helps us make the better fit with potential managers. We do a pretty extreme or in-depth vetting process to prevent surprises. The last thing we want to do is get to the very end of this process and have you all get on Google and see where town manager candidate A had some problems somewhere else. We're going to know all those things in advance. Pretty in-depth research on our candidates, background searches, all of those things. I mentioned the understanding of the organization of the community, and again, also included in that is the desire to make sure that folks are committed to the process who are applying. We don't want people that are going to take us all the way up till the finalist interview stage, and then they say, we've changed our mind, and we've got nothing for you at that point. Can't show you this since I don't have it on a PowerPoint, but after the initial visit, after interviewing you all and whoever else you need me to speak with, we put together a position profile brochure. It's typically a 4 to 6 page marketing brochure that we draft, we send back to you all for your reviews and edits, and make sure we're representing the community in as most positive a way as we can. And once you all sign off on that, that's when the actual recruiting process starts. Once we get that brochure out, we start accepting applications for the position. From the time that is posted, it's normally about a 12-week process to get to final interviews for you all. Now, if you want to shorten that process, we will work with you to do that. A lot of it, after we get candidates, when we get to the semifinalist stage, a lot of it is going to depend on how quickly you all can get together and meet with us and review candidates. Another thing that we do that probably is not unique, but we think we are in the forefront of this, is the utilization of social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, et cetera, to get the message out there and to draw candidates in. We'll also go the conventional route, ICMA, the North Carolina anything local in the way of newspaper advertisements that you want us to do, we'll take care of all of that as well. We have over 62,000 people that are already signed up to receive our email blasts that we do weekly. Our website, if you probably already know this from the proposal, but governmentresource.com. If you go there, you'll see just the wide variety of means of access and just information that we put out. But I mention that because obviously with 62,000 people who are signed up, a lot of those are practicing managers who might not be looking now, but will see the different jobs that we're promoting, and they may become interested, specifically in Sunset Beach. Most of our recruiters are retired city managers or county administrators in different states, and so we all have access to our state networks from when we were active managers ourselves, and keep our eyes and ears open for people who are interested in new positions. I'm new in living to North Carolina, but there are about a dozen or so former Virginia people who are in management roles here in North Carolina, so I've got a network established here as well already that I can reach out to and find North Carolina specific candidates. I know a lot of states have preferences, a lot of localities in specific states have specific preferences for North Carolina candidates, for example, because they're more familiar with local government structure and regulations and so forth in North Carolina. So we have access to networks that'll help us recruit people there. But you all are in a very enviable position. People love the beach. We'll get, I suspect, if we do this work for you, we'll get a good number of candidates from everywhere that will do a little research, and they'll like the community and they'll be interested in coming here. So we're confident in that. I mentioned we do outreach through social media. We do trade advertisements and websites. We do state websites, as I mentioned, North Carolina municipalities. Here we would do the Virginia Municipal League also, and the Virginia Local Government Managers, and South Carolina probably, unless you said we don't want anybody coming up here from South Carolina. I mentioned the candidate vetting. That is really important to us. Beyond the initial screenings that we do for applicants, as we get closer and do semifinalists, we step up the review process. We do questionnaires for them. We do video interviews, if you all desire us to do that, where we will have each of them answer some specific questions that you want us to ask, and we'll videotape them and send that information to you all, so you kind of get a feel for that person before you actually meet them, and that may help you either firm up on particular candidates or decide, well, you know, this one maybe doesn't quite click personality-wise for us, or we don't think they handle themselves well in the video portion. Once you have a selected candidate, we will do a first-year game plan with them and with you all to kind of lay out the kind of things you want them doing the first 12 months that they're employed with you. We do what's called a DISC assessment. It's a fairly lengthy process where they are asked a lot of questions that help us and you all determine their specific managerial style, how they're going to interact with other people, how they're going to interact with you all, what their preferences are, and how they receive direction from you all, and how they give direction to their staff and subordinates. I touched on the deeper research to make sure that we are finding you a good fit and that we don't have any surprises that come up at the very end. And I mentioned the 12-week process from the time that the brochure is approved. And so I know I have zoomed through that a little bit. I may have slowed it down a tad if I was showing you a video of all this, but if you'd like to start asking questions, we can move through there, and anything that I've left out or that you didn't hear, I'll certainly.
Charlie, have any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. John?
A couple of things. First, the first item is, would be to make sure that you could at least knock 1 week off the timeline. The way your timeline is set up now, the week before Christmas is interviews, deliberations, reference checks, negotiations.
Okay.
Not a good time of the year to do that kind of stuff.
I will confess to you that I did not plot that out before I came in. I was just giving you the typical. And,
Yeah, I mean, it would-
yeah, we absolutely. we
There
can-
would be an idea probably to compress that, to have, you know, a decision point before Christmas holidays and not, you know, I don't know about you guys, a week before Christmas is not a good week.
No.
No.
Well, there are going to be a few holidays there at the end of the year, but the first thing that can kickstart the process is once we're on board, me getting back here, doing the interviews with you all and the community, and whatever level of engagement beyond yourself and department heads that you want to do, and getting all that together, drafting the profile brochure. We could literally, if I came back on a Monday and a Tuesday, by Friday, we could literally have a draft brochure done and get that to you so you could approve it, and then we can get things posted. So there are opportunities to shorten
Okay.
that time frame. That was a long way of answering your question.
Could you talk a little bit more detail about North Carolina specific candidates? I mean, one of the things would be not so much just North Carolina specific, but East Coast region candidates who are familiar with our environmental issues. There is some unique stuff about North Carolina government, the way we run, but those types of things that we would want to get in. It doesn't necessarily have to be a North Carolinian, but it has to be somebody who's cognizant of what's going on around here in the coastal areas. And you know, when I look through what you have put in here, you don't have a lot of background in terms of placing people in North Carolina or in sort of our central Atlantic coastal tourist areas.
Well, there is a lot of experience that SGR as an entity has in Florida. So we do know the issues, not only the environmental that you speak of, but the emergency services component, hurricanes, so forth. So as part of our process, we would absolutely, in outlining the criteria for candidates, we would certainly be looking for people that had experience coastal community. It would be a preferred experience criteria, obviously, with emergency services experience, stormwater management, all of those kind of issues. A good manager is going to be able to adapt to the state and local ordinances and regulations. That's pretty much a given. But we would may be looking more specifically for people that do have those enhanced levels of experiences and training unique for coastal communities.
Could you talk us through your project cost? What you have in the proposal has a couple of things that looks like it doesn't jump out as to what we actually are paying for. It's on tab 7. And the first part, professional services fee, I assume that's the cost of you and the cost of the staff to do the research and all those things. The not to exceed expenses are kind of where my questions are. And I'm not familiar with this type of information in that. But when you go down underneath not to exceed expenses, you have a number of items that put either a flat fee or a cost per candidate in that. And when I tally those things up on the right, it comes up to $9,500. And it still leaves, ad placement is something that we pay for in addition. It's not clear the printing of documents, materials, it looks like we pay for that in addition. Is that correct?
That all will fall under that 9,500.
Okay. If we followed the bullets that have the identified fees and the number of candidates, starting off with the brochure at $1,500, $200 each for the recorded online interview for 12 candidates is $2,400, $150 per candidate for the disc management for 6 candidates, that's $900. The media reports, comprehensive media reports, $500 per candidate, 6 candidates is $3,000. Cost of $300 per candidate for background review, $1,800. That adds up to $9,500 here without covering travel expenses, visits to the recruiter, the ads, the printing, which, could you give us a sense of, in a program like this with the number of visits back and forth? Yeah. What I'm getting at is, to me, it appears there's built into this a lot of additional costs that the town will pay for that don't clearly jump out in your project cost proposal.
Those that $9,500 will only be if we spend that amount. Travel, for instance, is going to be lower than a typical job because I'm not jumping on an airplane and flying down here and having to rent a car and all of those kind of things. We will do as many of those disc assessments as you desire. The numbers that they use, 12 candidates, we're typically not doing 12 candidates unless the community insists that that's what they want. Usually we find that localities will narrow it down to 5 to 7 that they want to interview, or maybe even 4 to 6. So there's flexibility in that number, but we're committed to not exceeding the 9,500 on your all's end.
Okay,
And
so,
that 95, just to clarify, not exceeding that 9,500 would cause us to reduce the number of candidates and reduce the number of services that you have in your proposal.
No, sir.
And-
Now, if you ask us to do 20 disc assessments,
Yeah.
or 20 of those video interviews, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, but I mean,
No.
just using the numbers that that your proposal has, still has the trips by the recruiter, the travel for the executive recruiter, the ad placements, and the printing materials are all, to keep those under $9,500 means we have to cut candidates to be able to meet your numbers.
Those numbers are estimates. Not all of the ads are charged. A lot of, like ICMA or VML, won't charge us advertising costs. So, no, the proposal committed to you all a $9,500 2,500 is the not to exceed. So we will do what you desire us to do.
So that
within the
includes
time.
12 candidates? That includes 12 candidates?
If you want 12 candidates, we'll do 12 candidates.
Well, we don't know what we want at this point in
Sure.
time. I mean, that would be a discussion. But what we do know is that we will have to make a budget proposal, and we would go in and say, okay, if we accept your RFP, our budget would be saying it's $28,000, and that we have no intention of spending more than $28,000.
Exactly. And we don't, it's not our intent to charge you more than $28,000.
So the placement of a town administrator could be done by January 1st?
Yes, sir. If we can get you all together when we need to, if we can get the draft brochure approved by you all and posted as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Yeah,
For-
we will meet the time frame that you all need to meet.
And for clarification, that's selection of the candidate. And they may still have to build in their contract up to 90 days worth of leave notice. So you're still, I'm just want to point out, their timeline doesn't mean the day that manager will be starting.
It could possibly be March.
Yeah, I've seen some contracts have 90 days, I've seen some have 60 days, I've seen some only have 2 weeks. So it all depends on the candidate and what their contract in place is. But a selection date versus a start date are 2 different things.
So just
wanna
have a
point that out.
candidate with a 2-week notice.
Well, 30 days is what we see more typically, but also I would point out that within those 30 days, usually some accommodation can be made between the candidate and his or her current community that allows them to use some vacation time to come here and start getting established in position here.
Karen, do you have any questions?
I cut you off, Charlie. What was yours?
Well, Mark asked the question. It's the not to exceed $9,500.
And real quick,
Sure.
on background check, you also do criminal, all of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's all part of the fee itself, structure itself? Do we have?
Yes, sir. We do that when we get to the semifinalist stage.
At the
Is when we
semifinal
do the more
stage,
detailed.
semifinal stage, how many people do you think you have in the pool? 4 to 6?
We would like to bring you probably 10 at that point and review them with you and let you decide who your top 4 or 5 are.
Before we see those 10, that background check will be done.
The very detailed criminal background will come at the finalist point.
Top 3 or,
We do enough background research prior to then to where we're comfortable that nothing's gonna pop up.
You talk about a deep fit when you're trying to select people. Do you have a statistic for successful placement? Like, they've been there, people y'all have placed throughout the country, mind you, a year, 5 years, 10 years, just average.
I don't have an average that I
Okay.
could give you, but typically we have been very successful. I've been with SGR for since the first of this year, and I have only heard through anecdotal discussions with other staff of a very limited number of folks that don't work out. And again, we think it's because of the vetting process that we go through.
All right. Great.
And having contacts essentially on the ground in every state who knows people who know people that are in the profession.
any other questions?
This is really getting down into the weeds. In your background checks, do you have the capability to hook into the federal system for people who have had security clearances?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can check if clearances have been pulled or revoked or anything like that. That's usually not something that's readily available.
No,
To-
we do have high-level access.
Okay.
It's through a contractor that we use. I certainly don't.
Any other questions? Lisa, do you have any questions?
I've almost finished, sorry.
Go ahead, keep going.
You talk about our search committee. How do you recommend that we would define our search committee?
That is up to you. If you all have a personnel committee consisting of a couple council members, and that's how you want to do it.
I mean, could it be a mix of staff, mix of council, mix of citizens, or should it all be, I mean, from in the past, how?
Well, my opinion would be, it would be best to be a group of council members, if not the whole council. There are 5 of you. That's certainly not a unmanageable. 6 of you.
There's a couple people missing.
Okay. If you're desiring more public input or even departmental input, we typically would cover that through the interview processes. When I come in to do the initial interviews, I would spend however much time you wanted me to talking with each of the department heads and seeing what their needs are, what their expectations are going to be of the next person, and you know, any landmines or any red flags that are there, any major projects that are coming down the pipe that this person is going to need to jump on, or major issues that they need to jump on immediately. We could have a meeting with the public where we would come in and just allow the public to give us their input on what they think you should be looking for.
Kurt, do you have a timetable? How long you put this advertising out for? 30 days, 60 days?
We initially go with a 30-day posting.
So whoever applies to that 30-day period, that's it. You're cutting it off.
We can post it as open until filled with an initial review date at 30 days. That way, if for whatever reason we or you all don't see the quality of candidates within that first 30 days, you're not stuck with it and starting all over. You can still be accepting applications.
For a position like this, how do you go about, do you make a recommendation with a salary range, or do we set our own salary range? And how do we know when it's attractive enough or not attractive enough? Where in the discussion with the candidates does salary come up?
I would ask you all initially if you have a range that you're looking for. I would also probably go to the North Carolina Municipal Association and see what they're seeing in the way of salaries for town managers, city managers, town administrators, and compare Sunset Beach with comparable sized communities and or coastal communities. Again, we're not going to put out a number there that you all aren't comfortable with, but we all want to make sure you have a number that's reasonable and that will attract a decent candidate.
So that'll be part of our discussion with you.
Yes, and any other benefits that come with the position too. Again, those are questions I'll ask you when we're interviewing you all individually. Some places balance salary with, you know, a vehicle allowance or a 401k contribution, or just different things. I don't know what you all specifically do, but we'll work however we'll work through that however you want to.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm checking. You're welcome to ask questions, though.
Lisa has my contact information too. If there's anything at all that pops up after I've left, she can send that to me.
I'm good for now. Hiram, do you have any?
I'm good. I've asked what I needed to ask.
Lisa? You sure you know to work with these people? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yep.
Beautiful community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate getting to come down and take a look.
At this time, I'd like to adjourn.
For the gentleman who was not able to be here today, for the July 2nd meeting, Attorney Richardson will not be with us. So he will not start at 6 o'clock, he'll start at 6:45. would you like for me to ask this gentleman to come at 6?
That's
Can
fine.
you go ahead and start and have him first?
Yes,
That'll be fine,
that'd be good.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay with y'all?
yeah,
So in lieu of a
guess-
closed session, we'll have the interview.
yeah.
Where's Grady? Is that in town?
He'll be on vacation.
He's on vacation.
What are you guys taking vacation?
Gone to a
time?
different beach.
Okay, so
wild.
that's how it'll be, July 2nd.
Yeah, and so,
That'd be great.
so, I mean, this is after the fact. This proposal is based on a August 13 start date. If we, I assume the other proposal will be something similar in that.
You want me to
that-
discuss or take action later on for the July 2nd meeting?
But the original RFP we sent out had a start date in around August period, so.
Yeah, okay, so I guess the point I'm getting at is on the July 2nd, we're gonna hear that presentation, and then during the course of the meeting, we have a discussion and choose one of these?
If you want to, yes.
If we want to choose one of these.
Yep. But it also leaves it open to have that discussion and choice on, well, we won't have a full council on the 17th, so yeah.
We can push it to the August meeting as well.
Well, we move to the August meeting, then we don't meet any of these timelines.
I know.
Well, we have the 17th, can't we? July.
Well, we won't have a full council on the 17th.
Who's missing that? That's, who cares?
At this point,
Exactly my point.
Yeah, we don't have any agenda items for the 17th either at this point. But
Okay.
the second, I mean, if y'all are comfortable with the second, we still would meet our original timelines that we laid out in the RFP.
Okay.
Then we would discuss our choice during the meeting.
Correct.
So is Greg going to be sworn in at the beginning of the meeting on July? Do we have to make that announcement now? I think we should. Well, I want to make sure
Ju-
that Greg is here.
July is the,
Second,
we have to pick him first.
right.
right,
But
Yeah.
You have to have the-
can we
you-
pick him and swear him in at the same time?
your director.
You have to do one before the other, but yeah, you can,
Yeah.
you can't swear them in and then decide not to do it.
You're in, you're out.
Your directive says, consider or authorization to re-advertise. So you have to have that discussion and take action prior to me swearing you in.
Okay.
But if we decide that he's our mayor, then you can swear him in.
Yes.
If you want to stop the meeting in the middle and do that, then yeah, you can.
Yes, we
can
do.
do that.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Y'all make
Okay.
the rules, we just follow us.
Now, concerning the July 17th meeting, there's nothing on the agenda right now,
Presently.
presently.
But that doesn't mean on the second, y'all won't decide to put something on there.
So if nothing goes on that agenda on the 2nd, can we cancel that town council meeting? We've been meeting every day for the last 2 months. So you're not going to be here anyway, correct?
I'm not going to be here, no.
So Charlie, would you have a problem if there's nothing on the agenda to cancel that meeting?
Nope, have a problem
Jan?
with that.
Follow me?
That means on July 2nd.
Wanna vote
don't
now to
put-
cancel
Don't
it?
put anything on the agenda.
Want to vote now to cancel it?
No. We do
That's
that.
right, we vote on the 2nd to cancel it.
Would you like us to put an agenda item on the next meeting to have it as a discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a good idea.
Okay.
Any other discussion? I adjourn this meeting.